All right, today we're going to look at making a rigid body simulation and also using the Shatter tool inside Maya. And this can be used for a variety of different things. If you need to break up an object or kind of destroy some terrain or simulate an object being broken. So here's what we have. Just this sphere, and it falls to the ground and then just shatters apart. So it's a pretty straightforward simulation. We have a couple parameters that we will be changing, but nothing too terribly complex. So let's start this over from scratch. So I'm just going to do new scene, don't save, and I'm just going to reset Maya's classic workspace here. Okay, so this is the default workspace here. I'm just going to open up the outliner and I'll just do it in this default workspace so we can see it. So first thing we need is a plane. Okay. Actually, before we get that plane, we do need to make sure that the bullet solver, which is the simulation engine inside Maya, is enabled. So we can go to Windows, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and we can just type in bullet. And just make sure that that is loaded and auto-loaded the bullet here. Okay, so actually mine's not auto-loaded, but there it goes. And just close that up. And then let's make our sphere. So we're just going to do this with the sphere. You can do this with any piece of geometry. So I have a sphere and a plane, and let's just bring this sphere just above the ground plane just a little bit, right about here. Now, Bullet basically does the simulations for us. So all of the kinematic and rigid body simulations will be automatically calculated. But if we want to shatter this object, we need to do that inside Maya. So we'll go ahead and go to Modeling and then go to FX. And then under Effects, you'll see some Maya methods, the Maya basic effects. So you'll see one that is called Shatter. And we don't just want to click Shatter. We want to click on the options next to Shatter. And these are the defaults. We can double check that by just resetting these settings. And the only thing that I'm going to change here is I'm just going to hide the original geometry. So that's it. So triangulate surface, these will be triangles. You can turn that off, but then it won't actually slice through geometry. This will do a different shatter every time. You basically just can change that seed value for a different shatter. But let's just go ahead and hit, it doesn't really matter, but let's do create. And we're going to get this error here. So we're getting yelled at here. So we want to hit, try apply, and we're still getting yelled at. So if we do edit, delete by type history, and then hit apply, we're good. So now if the history has been deleted, we can actually break this geometry. And we can check too, just to make sure there's nothing there, but we can do create. So create or apply once that geometry is completed. Now, I did undo and actually messed this one up. So you have to be careful with undo in this. So let's do edit, delete by type history again. There we go. Now everything's gone. So now if I hit create, I'm all set. So just be careful. Just always double check the attribute editor to make sure all those nodes are gone. And basically what I have here is my original piece of geometry, which you want to make sure you keep. I just made it automatically hide that. And then all the shatter pieces. And now these are just, you know, pieces of geometry. And you can see, actually, let's undo again. And you do have to be careful with that undo. That's a really good way to crash Maya, is to continually do undos. But let's just go ahead and do edit, delete by type history again. And I just want to show you that seed value. So let's go into Shatter. And let's just change that seed and hit apply. So now I have a completely different shatter than last time. I can actually delete that, unhide this, and do another seed, and just keep trying different ones until I get one that I think I like. And I don't really know what that one looks like, but I don't think I like it. So let's try one more time. And okay, so that one looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and close this. And if we hit play in Maya, nothing's going to happen. So you could, if you were just looking to manually destroy an object, whoops, in object mode, if I select one of these shards, these are just pieces of geometry, okay? So those are just simple pieces of geometry. Actually, don't even know that I really like this one. You can see these are just different shards. Yeah, I don't really like this one either. I don't like that middle piece there. Let's delete that one. Let's try it one more time. So effects, shatter, and I don't know, let's try that. Okay, how much better did we get? So let's just see. I think I like this. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna stick with this one. And you could just stop here. You don't have to really continue with the next step. But if you want to play with some dynamics, we can use bullet, and you can see that's here. So bullet has nothing to do with the shatter. It's going to simulate any object. So we have a couple options up here. You can see as I hover over those, this is an active rigid body. We have a rigid body set. So create a set of rigid body objects. And then we also have a passive rigid body. And you can see as we continue down, there's some other options for soft bodies and then some other commands. These are the ones that you'll probably use most often. So let's make the ground's not going to move. So we want to make the ground a passive collider. So now this object is just going to stay. Let's select the geometry that we want to manipulate. Okay. And we will just put this in a set. So we're going to create a set for this rigid body. And that's really all we need. So then we can just rewind or just start the playhead over. And you can see it's going to explode right away. And actually, that's kind of cool. Actually, kind of think that's neat. Okay, but that's not exactly what we're looking for. And the problem with that is this object here, anytime there's any overlap within the geometry, everything's going to look like it's just kind of exploding in probably a kind of an unnatural way. So that's what's happening there. So we can fix that. So you can see here now we have the bullet solver. So this is actually the solver used, and we have some parameters over here. So if I pull this over a little bit, you can see we have the bullet solver node, we have the shape node, sorry, the transform node, the shape node, and then the initial state. The only thing we want to change, because we used this set, we can change this collision type to hull. Okay, and let's just replay this. And now you're going to see it's going to fall to the ground and then hit the ground and then kind of crack. Actually, don't even like this big piece. Kind of looks like a lemon. That's what I was looking for. If we want to change this a little bit and maybe have it stick together before it falls, we can actually glue these shapes together. And now that this is glued together, this will fall and then eventually just kind of break apart. And this will simulate as long as you have time on the timeline. And it's, I think I might be on play every frame. That's one other setting that you might need. So if you right click on the timeline, you can do playback speed and you have real time and then you have play every frame. So for simulation, sometimes play every frame just to make sure everything plays. In this case, we're fine, at least on this computer, to do real time, just so we can see what that looks like in real time. There we go. We can change some of these parameters. So we want that to stay glued together and even change the collision shape margin and just play. It's going to look basically the same. Actually had a little bit more bounce to it there. Okay, so that's just a quick video on how you can break some stuff inside Maya and then also add some basic physics to this using Bullet.